Welcome back to the Lifepurpose.com podcast. We have a beautiful guest today from Mallorca. Her name is Beejal Coulson. Hi, Beejal.
Hello. Hello, Emma.
Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And as always, I'm going to give you a brief bio about who Beejal is and why she's on the Lifepurpose.com podcast. Beejal's life purpose title, she has multiple titles. She calls herself a clinical hypnotherapist, a consciousness coach, a healer, a creator of the quantum life technique, and an author. And she is an advanced RTT therapist, creative quantum life technique, consciousness coach, and also an energy and sound healer. And she is a 4 times best-selling author based in the UK and in Mallorca. Before that, she was a university senior lecturer in marketing and psychology for 21 years before she experienced a major life transition 8 years ago, which through her own journey of transformation, growth, and evolution led her to her discovery of her life purpose in the holistic world. Beejal has created an incredible modality called the quantum life technique, which she's going to share more about. In short, it's called QLT, and it can enable people to access their superconsciousness, to discover and to gain clarity over their highest potentials and align them to becoming the best versions of themselves. So I want to know, first and foremost, Beejal, what inspired you to transition from being a university lecturer in marketing and psychology to pursuing what you're doing now, a career in holistic practices slash energetic practices?
So I like the word inspired because I think it happened or it came as a result of what happened to me. So I had burnout from teaching. I had burnout after the first 7, 8 years, actually. And then I had serious burnout after after 21 years. And I call it really, it was a breakdown and that led to a breakthrough. But it was also filled with medical issues, problems, and it hadn't just been all of a sudden. I'd had signs, they were little whispers, and then they turned to kind of more louder whispers, screams until my body just shouted that if you don't change, I'm actually going to kill you. And so I had been diagnosed with a further autoimmune condition, and life had been quite challenging for me. But I was so conscientious about working, and I had believed that my purpose had come to me early, and it was to inspire others to make a difference in their lives. But with the vocation of teaching, it was great, but what it had also led to was my ill health. So it wasn't fully helping me, even though I was helping everyone, if that makes sense. So actually, it was my own journey that inspired where I am now. So it was my own healing journey and really opting for as natural as possible in a world where solutions can be met quite easily with taking medications, which are fine to some extent if need be. But I really was looking for natural solutions, and I was really looking for a way where I wouldn't be labeled by diagnosis or prognosis. I actually wanted my life back and more. And something within me actually whispered to me, and I listened, that the body has an innate ability to know how to heal itself.
Mm.
I didn't know how, but that was being whispered to me. despite the medical system saying, take this will make you feel better. Or you have chronic conditions that are for life, just live with it. And I had also been diagnosed with, to my surprise, with anxiety, which actually, now looking back, I had it all my life, and it's been in generations past as well. And so really what I experienced ended up becoming the way I was going to help other people heal and go beyond that as well, like I did. So teaching was great. And there's a Japanese principle called the Ikigai principle, which is working on 4 aspects. And it's like you do what you're really good at. You do what you love. You do what the world needs, and you do what you're rewarded with. And that last bit was missing in my career in teaching, as much as I love the reward. And the Ikigai principle is that if you can, this is actually completely connected to life purpose, that when you have these 4, it's in the form of a Venn diagram. In the middle, it's really like the reason to be, your reason for living. Raison d'être. It's that's the magic, kind of the magic way for life. So the other thing that happened was with this new vocation, there was interconnectedness, and the best bits of me came with me. I thought I'd actually walked away from my career, and I recreated myself with new letters after my name when I first trained in hypnotherapy. But actually, the best bits came along with me as well, with what I'm doing now. So it wasn't like I completely changed. And I'd always had an interest in self-development, my own personal development. And I had been teaching psychology for the last 10 years of my academia, teaching master students. And I had also been a life coach and business coach. And one of the things I've been doing was vision boarding workshops, which is kind of what I was really fascinated by: the brain, neuroscience, our purpose, our future. And I also realized that for such a long time, all I wanted was to be well. And I believed I was living my purpose by teaching. But it came as a surprise. So it could be, it's inspired, but it wasn't that I was looking for it.
So would you say that for some time, being a university lecturer was in alignment with what your soul was meant to do, until your body showed you warning signs, letting you know that it is time for you to pivot?
Yes, I think it was warning me quite some time. I just wasn't listening. And it's actually to stay in the comfort zone of what you know. And there is actually a fear of change as well when you've been doing something for so long. And, stable job, regular income, you have a pension. These are the things where we're all taught that are great. And, it was a surprise. I was very young. I was 24 years old, and my first teaching experience was 100 students. It was sink or swim. And it was then that I knew that, okay, this must be it. It was something I thought I'd do later in life, not so early. And it happened quite soon after. I think it was a couple of years after that, I was headhunted by the University of Arts in London, London College of Fashion. And I was heading up a foundation degree in marketing promotion. I helped create it. So one of the key things has been, I love to create. And with teaching, I was able to put on many different hats and be in many different scenarios. And it was just fun. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. And I got to travel the world as well.
Can you share a little bit more about the specific life transition that you experienced 8 years ago, which led you to embracing more of your life's purpose?
So I found myself not in a great place. And I had been doing things before that. Like I'd been going to retreats, workshops, reading books, learning. It wasn't that I was completely ignoring what my body was telling me, but also I didn't fully understand that the messages the body sends are not in the language we necessarily understand. So I was really looking more outside of myself rather than knowing to go inside. We're just not taught that from it's not something that's known or people reveal. And the last few years, before I had the breakdown, I actually started up a couple of businesses, as you do, in jewelry and fashion. And one of the reasons was that if I looked good and felt good, because you had to with that kind of business to sell, then that would make me good. That would make me better, and it could possibly potentially lead to another career. But I found myself even more tired and exhausted. And I realized deep inside that actually that wasn't working.
So you're talking about these businesses that you first attempted to make work in the fashion. Was it that?
When I was teaching in the last few years before I had the breakdown, I attempted some to create some businesses, and believe that if I made an effort in how I felt, because I wasn't feeling great, and if I could look good and I would feel good, that would be the key. But it wasn't, and my body started to scream even louder. And then I just had to literally stop. And I had been to some retreats, and I would come back and it'd be like I'd patch myself up and I'd be okay again. And there were 15-week semesters, and then I'd be drowned again. And really, my life had shrunk. I was working, I was a mother. I didn't really have a balanced life. I was surviving. And then it took the joy out of what I was doing. So I had known for quite some time. And when my body shouted, just stop, I had to stop with no idea what was going to happen in the future. So there was a lot of uncertainty, but there was also the discovery of the unknown. The unknown is path not taken before, and being okay with not knowing about the future, what was going to happen, to be okay with just being. And that was something I hadn't really done. So I focused on self-care, discovering what self-care was, giving myself permission to pause.
This is so important. I really want to highlight this because we are now sharing with the listeners and the viewers, how did you get yourself out of feeling not good, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, feeling burned out, and how you eventually made the shift to really stepping into your purpose, and how did you get yourself to feeling good again? And you're mentioning self-care and remembering and learning what it means to take care of yourself. This is so important. Can you share more on that?
Yeah, so I just followed, despite having such physical, mental, emotional symptoms. It was very, very challenging. But there was something like an inner light or some inner guidance whispering. And if I just listened, there were glimpses of that. And it's what I know now to be intuition, but it had been blindsided the majority of the time by anxiety. But when I actually stepped back and paused, I could give it a chance to actually show through and help me. And it was literally putting one foot in front of the other and trusting, having faith, the right people, the right situations, the right things, knowing what I didn't want. And also I remember one really poignant moment where I was sat at my health club, where I went swimming daily. And I remember in my head thinking, right, I want to be well. I don't just want to be well. I want to live a life of adventure. I don't want my daughter to remember me as being unwell. Half her life, all she's known is mum isn't well, mum isn't really fun. And that's not me. And, you know, I thought I want to have autonomy like I've had in my career in teaching, but I want to live life on my terms. And I want to help people. I still want to help people. So that was fundamental. I still want to make a difference in people's lives. And so this kind of intention forming thing that happened that day at the swimming pool, it's like the universe listened, and the universe was doing what it could to shape things to move me in that direction. So it was just following my inner guidance step by step, and just opening up to how can I uncover what can help me, or how can I heal as naturally as possible, and having faith that whatever the medical system is telling me, that I need to trust that there are alternatives. And I took to continuing. I had been on a path, and I continued on that path of holistic therapies. And I discovered Marissa Peer, who I ended up training with in rapid transformational therapy. I was one of the first to train with her. And it was like on the first day of the training, I just knew there and then that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I'm going to be one of the best. It wasn't even egotistical. It was more of a real feeling inside. I'm going to be one of the best, therapists that there are.
So you're talking about the RTT therapist that you became a trainer at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was like within 7 months of me having the breakdown, I was on the training.
Okay, so how did you get access to that? Did you just follow your intuition? Did you just know that you had to do this training?
Yeah, because if I stopped to question, how much it cost or things like that, I just like, what is this? Because it was something different. It wasn't traditional hypnotherapy. It was something different. And I did like the concept of the way the training was. It was immersive. And I knew that I would end up having to go back to my career of teaching. And that was going to be a long road of having to do something that my heart and soul went really into, even though I could do it. So it came as an opportunity that I took.
Okay. And how did you feel, and how did your health and your well-being change once you started embracing this kind of training, this RTT training?
Yeah. Immensely.
Did you become better? Did you feel better?
Yeah. One of the things with this form of therapy was that there was a root cause element to it, to discovering really what the root emotional cause is. When we go to the doctors, they don't really ask us what's going on in our life, or there's not really any mention of the metaphysical aspects. So for me, I had been doing quite a lot of research. I had experienced quite a lot of holistic therapies, and this was very, very different in the sense that you could travel back to the past. And now, coming all these years on now, with having done therapy for so many people, so many clients, hundreds, that I know now that majority of mental health, medical conditions, they're all connected to our past. They're all connected to trauma. But trauma can be defined. Trauma isn't just some things that are, some people say, oh, I don't really know if I deserve, to do therapy, or if I should do therapy, because what happened to me isn't as bad as what's happened to other people. But pain is pain. And what a child experience, or a young adult, it could even be in, more recent, trauma is trauma. Pain is pain. It's not like a you categorize it that this is real trauma and this is less trauma. So I shouldn't be defined by it. But a lot of people end up defined by their past, and it could be one incident or a series of things that happen to them. And it can be very unconscious. So one of the things I've been fascinated in before I've done the training was in brainwave states and frequencies. And the key I found to unlocking so much belief systems was the subconscious mind. And it was just fascinating. And it still is fascinating every time I do an RTT session. It is just absolutely mind-blowing.
So if I understand your journey correctly, please let me know if I can connect the dots here. So you had a major burnout. You were feeling depleted as a senior lecturer in a university. Your body was telling you this is not your path anymore. This is not your purpose, Beejal. And then you started to take care of yourself and regain access to your intuition to guide you on your path. And you were, from what I'm gathering also, is you were remembering how to trust to a higher power, into your own higher power.
Yes.
Right. And that eventually led you to finding the RTT therapy. And you became an RTT therapist yourself, but also you have been using the RTT to heal yourself. Am I getting this right?
Yes. And I mean, so RTT and also other modalities as well. So I took to a path of committing to really going down that journey of I wasn't going to stop until I was better and better and better. And what I also learned was I really want to help people, but I found myself being a martyr at one point, where just like I had been when I was teaching, I must help other people. But the difference was when you hold space and do therapy, you have to be able to do that. You have to be really on a level where you have taken care of yourself.
Exactly.
It's gone through. You can't just fake it till you make it. And so the self-care aspect was very, very important. And it would almost seem like I was going the other way in terms of doing too many things that were seen to be not luxury, but looking after myself, like swimming every day. I went back to doing yoga. I've been surprised. I've done yoga for quite a long time, and for various reasons had stopped and didn't realize, in that whole 5 years that I stopped, that yoga had been so amazing, Kundalini yoga, where it helped me with my inner world without me realizing how much it had helped me previously. So I went back to doing yoga. And so I just started to discover more and more things that aligned with me. Sound therapy aligned with me as well. So there were other modalities, breath work, transformational breath work. I was very curious. So I would be in London on lots of workshops, listening to lots of people in self-development, holistic healing. I was just very, very open to learning as much as I could. And I discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza soon after I trained in RTT and I became a clinical hypnotherapist. And I was so curious and so fascinated by neuroscience, quantum physics. My past also dates to a scientific background before I actually went down the path of teaching, marketing. So I wanted to be able to explain rather than just everything being mystical or what is this intuition. And so Dr. Joe's work was hugely influential, but there were also people like Shakti Gawain, Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins. There were quite a lot of people that had inspired me. I'd been to various workshops and really going deep into the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, practicing his work, going on his retreats, just had major transformation within myself.
Right. So you being open to try out new ways of healing and taking care of yourself and developing yourself has led you back to your own balance. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. I think there were many aspects missing from my life.
Mm-hmm.
And those aspects were very unique to me. So I'm a very creative person. And one of the things that had been missing from my life was really being creative for no other reason than just for being creative. So I would be creative in so many ways. My teaching, I was very inspirational. I taught in very different ways. I used films and music to get the message across for students. I I was very creative in so many ways in my life, but one of the ways I was really honoring my creativity was really just to do art.
Mm.
To
What kind of
my hands.
what kind of art?
So when I was very young, I loved art and music. They were my main passions. And very early on, it was it was it was the message was that that's not going to give you a future. That's not really something you want to be focusing on for your future. So it was something that then I started to deny for myself.
Mm.
And it only showed up in later in adult life, taking courses in art, going on a week's art retreat, but then again forgetting about it. And I even studied art therapy while I was a lecturer as a hobby. And it really, that's what opened me up to really honoring who I am, and just saying to myself, I will do this for me.
This is so powerful.
Yeah.
This is so powerful that we are touching on the topic of creativity, because it is when we allow ourselves to be creative that our channels of creativity and life force are starting to balance again and flow again. And that allows us to go back into alignment with what we came here to do. Yes, it's something we've seen over and over again. If you follow your creativity, if you allow yourself to be creative and have a creative outlet, this is going to put you back on track.
And so when I had the burnout, I signed up for art classes, and it just, for me, painting just brings peace into my heart, peace into my soul. Time just stops and something happens, because I'm not trained as an artist. I don't even know what paintbrushes to use or what colors to use a lot of the time. Something just channels through me, and I'm blown away sometimes by what happens and the result. And it's really interesting because I learned that how I do life is how I do art. And it's shown me myself from way before, wanting to draw and paint just things exactly as I saw them. And I watch myself, I feel myself now when I'm doing art. And I feel I'm still on the path, but I feel so much more liberated. And it's showing, the expression is showing in my artwork. And it's not necessarily for sale, it's for me. And I'm making my inner child happy. I'm nourishing my soul when I'm doing this. And it has changed what I actually do when I help people heal, transform, evolve, grow to their highest potentials. It's taken my work to a whole other level. So when I feed myself,
creativity, you say, has taken your work to a whole another level.
and it also, I became an author in 2020, in 1 year, when I can't believe it. I was part of 3 books, 3 Amazon bestsellers. And the third book, the publisher asked me to take on the role of mentoring the other authors. And I knew that okay, I'm finding new things about myself. Like, it was a dream to write and be part of a book. And I think the first book was sharing my story, and it's about the burnout, the breakdown to breakthrough, and life is a series of lessons and blessings. And it's sharing my journey of this change, transition. And the second book, there was just a title, Happiness, and it couldn't have been at the worst time when COVID happened. I really didn't want to write anything about happiness, but it'd been something I'd been really intrigued by and researched, but there was no agenda. I didn't really know what I was going to write about. And it came through during the time I was writing, and it was about connection to nature, but something happened that completely surprised me. The words just came out like poetry. I had no idea. I even had that in me.
Mm. This is actually
Right.
this is like key. This is a key message you just said. I had something in me that I didn't even know existed, which brings me to my next question, and that is, what are your gifts and your talents, and how have you used them to live your purpose?
So creativity is one of them. And interestingly, the last book was, so the first book was about my story. The second book was about happiness and the connection to nature. And the third book was about inner spirit. And each time I wrote, it showed me something. So how I do art, how I write, tells me about me and my life, procrastination, judgments, my belief system. Oh my God, when the first book came and I held it in my hand, I didn't feel worthy to be in it. And then as I read the stories ahead of mine, and then I read mine, I'm, I'm worthy to be here. But the initial feeling was, how did I even get to be in here? And who's even going to want to read my story? And actually, we had this book club and we were sharing our stories, different authors, every couple of weeks. And when I shared my story, I remember receiving an email straight away from a lady in Canada saying, I want to work with you. And I remember thinking before, when I signed up to write, even if one person finds me, reads my story, and feels I can help them, job done. And it was just the most amazing journey we both went on when she signed up to work with me. Absolutely amazing.
I want to bring you back down gently to the question, because I really want to dive deeper into, what are your gifts?
Yeah.
What are your talents? How do you use them in relation to your purpose? So you said creativity.
Of tangent, but what I was coming to was actually the third book was about the inner spirit, and it was my connection to myself, my higher self, and consciousness, divinity. So that connection, as it grew stronger and stronger through the self-care practices, meditation became a huge part of my life. After I discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza, I changed how I was, my routine. So really, a lot of the things are to do with what we do every day that really will show how we are going to be in the future. And from doing half an hour of meditation a day, I upped it. I just changed it to, I'm going to do 2 hours every day, non-negotiable. Not looking for any results. I'm just going to commit to 2 hours of med. And people say, 2 hours? Where'd you find that time? Early hour, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, in the evening, half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours every day. And I committed. So it was creativity, my connection to myself, my higher self, connection to the universe, that would really show up in my work, my trainings, my commitment to learning, my qualifications, all continuous learner. For me, learning is really like a luxury. When I was very young, outside of school, I spent a lot of time with myself, with my imagination, desperate to want to learn, but it wasn't available to me. wanting to do different classes. So really, for me, learning is a gift, and I love to learn. So I continue to learn. And when I learn, that not just helps me, but helps everyone I work with. So I even went more over a year ago, more recently, to study sound healing, sound therapy. I was so fascinated by energy, frequency, vibration. I wanted to really get deeper into it. But it's interesting because my inner child was jumping up and down, but my adult self was, well, how is that going to relate to what you're doing? How are you going to justify that? It was really interesting what was going on. And I was one of the last people to sign up. And when I went there, I was in my element. I was meant to be there. So, sorry, go.
No, go ahead, please.
My determination, my commitment, my motivation. If a client comes to me, I will do everything in my power to give them what they want. Obviously, I need them on board as well, but I help them find what they need.
Have you discovered more gifts and more talents that you weren't aware of?
Yes,
The journey.
yes. So I've been working the last few years. I wanted to challenge myself to work with people with any diagnosis, prognosis, including life-limiting conditions, cancer, autoimmune, of course, I was doing, and anxiety, but I went deeper. And it's not always the case that clients, it's about extending their life. It's about them coming to peace with themselves. And interestingly, one of my past students came to me after 25 years and said, I'd like you to work with my mother. And I said, know me as a lecturer. You want me, to do this? Great. And she said, well, I've been following you on social media, so I believe whatever you put your hands on, you turn to gold. And so I've got full faith on you working with my mother. And it was just the most amazing journey for her to find peace within herself, her soul. She'd had multiple cancers and she did pass, but before she passed, it came to me to do a transition healing. And I'd been initiated actually in this years ago when my grandmother passed away. And I'd been the one to hold her hand while her soul left for another realm. And when I did this healing, I felt called to go to the beach. I was in New York at the time. I split my time half and half. So I'm in the UK and in New York. I was in Mallorca, and something called upon me to listen to Seal's album, which I loved when I was younger. And when I finished it, the sky turned red. And I shared this with the daughter who'd been my student in the past. And a few days later, her mother's funeral took place, and she shared with me how the sky turned for her, and it turned red that morning. And so there's things that have come through that both indescribable, but very, very powerful. And I almost felt like it was a full circle, that student was a fashion student. I worked with her mom, and then I ended up working with her after that to help her through to the next level stage of her life. She was a mother of 3 children until the grief.
So are you saying that one of your gifts is helping people transition from life to death?
It appeared so this way. That there have been many instances when I have carried out actions that people who passed have come through. And one of the other gifts, which came out of curiosity after going to Dr. Joe's retreats, where Lynn McTaggart had initially come up with this concept of coherence healing, and Dr. Joe was practicing them in the retreats, and I joined a group where we'd meet once a week, and there'd be usually about 8 people. It could be a different number, but they said there was a magic number for infinity, the number 8, and one person would be chosen, and we do distance remote healing. And it was very soon on, quite instantaneously actually, that myself and the group realized that I had very deep, profound visions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a documentary that came out every time we did one of these healings.
So you're talking about remote healing right now, right?
Yeah, energy healing, remote healing. And I started offering them when I was working with clients, especially those who'd had cancer as part of their package. And amazing, like what came to me, something that comes naturally, effortlessly. I actually questioned, but it was the people in my group that took me to the side and said, "This is a massive gift you have."
Which is, I just want to clarify that anyone who is listening, that they really can follow us. So you're saying one of your major gifts is also remote healing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Can you explain in 1 or 2 sentences for those that do not know what we're talking about, what remote healing is?
Yeah, so I can tune in, so it can be done virtually. So I'll send the person a track to listen to. It could be a meditation, it could be something that I've created, or it could be one based on binaural beats. And I tune into their energy field and I have visions. And usually the visions relate to, they can be quite metaphorical, what they're experiencing, and then it takes me to the highest potential, or a state of it's almost indescribable when how it happens, when this happens and what happens. So after about 20 minutes, I'll send them then what came through for me, and they'll send me what came through for them without reading what they've sent me. And it's been quite profound. So I was doing them even when I was on the beach, and sometimes feeling a bit guilty. Gosh, if my clients knew I was doing these on the beach, and they'd be like, "No, you need to be on the beach when you do them. Your vibration must be even higher." And one of the clients, I remember saying it felt like God was taking the cancer out of me, and it's unbelievable some of the feelings people were getting, or the experiences. And every time I do them, I don't know what to expect, but this is something I'm revealing now to the world that I've kept probably quite, or when people come to me, it's one of the gifts that is there, but I haven't really marketed myself, because sometimes in words, what I do gets lost in translation. I'm still yet to find, because a lot of it is from experiencing something rather than reading about it or hearing about it.
And would you say that these gifts, a majority of them are spiritual gifts? Would you agree with me?
Yes, and they've been uncovered more with once I've been working with people. I've also learned the hard way, energy and needing to protect myself from energy, and working with people with heavy trauma. I've had to really create boundaries and limit also how often I do this work.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for clarifying more on your gifts and your talents and how they have come online and revealed themselves again. I want to touch on another thing which you mentioned, which is the quantum life technique.
Yes.
And can you share more on what that is and how you assist people with the quantum life technique in accessing their superconsciousness to gain clarity on their highest potential and ultimately their purpose in life?
I also believe this came as a gift, and it's not something I was asking for. It came through because one of the main things was I was feeling very tired doing the therapies. I really truly believe it came to me as a higher vibrational modality that helps balance out with the work I do as well. But also it was the curiosity out of the learnings, really being inspired by neuroscience, being fascinated by quantum physics, and really getting more deeper into Dr. Joe's work. And it was actually his last book, Supernatural, that got me really connecting the dots. And it being clients also, it was first inspired from the vision boarding workshops, beginning with the end in mind, creating the future, but also, a lot of people associate these things to the term law of attraction. I was more interested in energy, frequency, vibration. And clients would say, well, I'm well now. What's next? Why am I here? What can you help me find what my purpose is? And I also remember when I was going on Dr. Joe retreats, a lot of the time at the time, people were very unwell and they were looking for their healing. And he would get people, he was collaborating, teamed up with a thing called Mind Movies, where you create a movie of your future. And I remember the software being a bit clunky, and I remember creating one myself and thinking, well, most people just want to be well. Anything else is a bonus. And also with what I've been doing in coaching, you ask the question at the start with clients, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And with the work I've been doing with lowered brainwave state and the subconscious mind, and when Dr. Joe started talking about the superconscious mind in his book, I thought, what if people don't need to know with their conscious mind, with their limiting belief system, with their limited mind? What if the higher stuff shows them, which is access through the superconscious mind? That's far more honest, authentic, liberating, and going to show someone beyond what they could ever possibly imagine for themselves. And so something came through the experimentation, and I attempted it on a therapist who was having a lot of medical issues, and she'd done quite a lot of RTT and other modalities. And I said, look, I kind of created something. Would you like to attempt it? Would you like to experience it? She said, yes. And when we did it, oh my God, she was just completely bowled over. She was just like, it had a lot of changes for her. She found that she had physical positive changes for her. And she also, she just also felt that she affirmed to me that this is like unlocking people's potential. They go on a journey, they have the therapy, and then this takes them further into creating their future. And she wanted to train in it. And I said, I'm not ready to train anyone. This has just come through. I want to let my clients experience this, really. And it was actually a podcast interview that I did with a colleague where she said, what do you want to speak about? And I started talking about what I created. And she just said at the end, I want to book a session and I want to train in it. And I was like, okay. It wasn't, my intention to put this out there in this way. And so when you said, what is it? It's a modality that is based on quantum physics, neuroscience, incorporates positive psychology, incorporates visualization, incorporates meditation, breath work, incorporates really it is a journey that people take, and it's really unique for themselves. That is, and it's crafted, the actual what happens is really huge in the form of what's termed as future memories. So we have memories from our past, trauma related, and with quantum life technique, we experience something quite profound as a trauma, but a very positive experience. And it's ingrained inside of us, that experience. It's like when people have mystical experiences, when they do meditation. And it's this modality helps them align to that future that they envisioned. with their subconscious mind. And the script is literally written by themselves during that experience. And it is encoded, it is embodied within themselves. So the difference between where you are right now and your future is literally frequency, energy, frequency, vibration. So even when we're doing therapy work, we're in multi-dimensional timelines. We're in the present moment, but we're also traveling to the past. And so with the future work, we're in the present moment, but we're also traveling into the future. And there are infinite potentials. And it's so exciting. And for me, I knew I wanted to write in a book. I did not ever imagine 4 books in the space of a year and a half, 3 in 1 year.
And you would say, speaking about your books now, this came to you as well, like a higher calling that was saying, Beejal, it's time to write a book?
I think deep down, there'd always been wanting to write, and I wanted to write about quantum life technique, but I was also aware that I would need time to build case studies, and I actually had a download of like the main chapters. I still have that written down, and it's gonna happen one day. But I think the first one was more about sharing what I created, because how it came through me, how it's unique to me, and that it's not something I've taken literally from someone, or it's a process that's been created through a series of learnings that I've done. So it was also building intellectual property as well, of starting to build more and more evidence for myself with what come through me.
I want to shift.
Also, one thing I wanted to say, it works amazingly. So it's for when people have medical conditions, when they go in the future, they don't seem to take the medical condition with them. So it's been brilliant for that. It's not for people with mental health issues. They need to have therapy first. It really isn't for someone who has anxiety, because there is a fear of the future. But it's brilliant when people have had therapy for anxiety. It's a beautiful stepping stone after that to go into the future. And also, when people face challenges all the time in life, and it's how we respond, how we react, how we respond. And there is a tendency, there is a memory in the body, in the mind, to go back. It doesn't matter what we've done, what therapy we've had, what self-development work, especially with really, really hard challenges. And so when there is a reference point for the future, we get to choose, whereas usually we've not chosen, because we have this reptilian brain, we have a natural level of anxiety that keeps us safe. So this modality is quite precious in the way that we're able to actually choose and be able to choose that, no, I want to be in creation of my future. But the magic is in the present moment. We have to be able to know how to be in the present moment, calibrate to be in the present moment. This is one of the biggest challenges for most people.
I would like to shift into a different subject, because it's something that we hear over and over again. And a lot of people, when it comes to embracing their potential and really expressing their purpose, a lot of people express financial difficulty in living their highest potential and in expressing their purpose. And I'm curious, how have you been able to financially support yourself to live your purpose, especially in the beginning stages of bringing your purpose to life?
Well, interestingly, when I qualified, it was fascinating that people said they needed help. And my first client was my plumber. We'd called him to come and fix something, and he said, I need help. And that was my first session. Then it was the neighbor who said, I have a fear of flying. I need help. She said, my husband's got OCD. He needs help. So it just literally happened like this, where people were all needing help. And it was meeting people in my life. So I'd go travel somewhere on an aeroplane, I meet someone. And it's not like I was always selling myself. I wasn't. And I think it's just natural in conversation. And suddenly the person said, I'd like to book a session with you. So it happened quite magically, actually, for me at the start. And I got a lot of word of mouth referrals. So when one person had had the experience, they then shared that with someone else, someone closer. And if someone had had the experience, the whole family then came. Which is just brilliant, amazing. If the whole family can go through.
So it sounds like once you started to embrace your purpose and the calling of your higher self, of your intuition, and you honored that path, and you closed the door to your past, sounds like to me that you were just effortlessly supported and provided for by spirit, by life. Would you agree?
Yeah, like it was, and also my own self-care was important, continuing my self-care.
Yeah.
And actually increasing my self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And not as an afterthought, but actually that being part of my
prioritizing it.
Yeah. And also like my creative timing to do signing up for a class and booking in deep tissue massage, because I can hold quite a lot of tension in my body when I work with people. So it was really making sure that I was looking after myself and having breaks. And swimming every day was very important for me, being in water. So for me, that seemed to happen naturally. What came as a surprise was actually in 2020 during COVID, when everything just stopped, changed. And I was just a little bit, what's happening here? And so it is different when you work for yourself. And the other thing, when I did this work, I never really knew 2 weeks on who my clients who got a month on. In the beginning, I was doing one-off sessions. It was only been the last few years that I've been working with clients and working with them with packages.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, there was quite a big turnaround of clients. And now I'm packaging, so they're having hypnotherapy, they're having energy healing, they're having coaching, they have quantum life technique. A lot of them are having the full package, and some are continuing with coaching after as well. So it has been full of twists and turns. And again, what your belief systems are, how you do the work shows you where you are in life, and also what belief systems there are. And when I said quantum life technique came to me, it also showed me a lot of my demons, a lot of the challenges I was going to have to walk through. It was bigger than me. A lot of the time there was this, I wanted to hide. I wanted things to be personal, and there's been this conflict to be on social media. So it's almost, if I don't show myself, I'm going to be a secret. That I need to be out there, but then I don't want to be out there. And so there's been a lot of conflict. There's been a conflict in belief systems that you can't have health and be successful. I don't know where that came from, but it was so strong. And before there'd be a photo shoot or something important, or even sending off the proposal for being part of the book, my body would kick up. I'd have an inflated tummy, I'd have water streaming down my eyes, and it's like, what is going on? And so I'm still having to get out of my own way every single day. And sometimes, it's one of Dr. Joe's stories that he had this vision of a past life And he was ready to just give everything up, walk away and have a quiet life. But it was because of this vision of a past life where he had actually done that. He'd been condemned for his gifts and he hid away in a cave for the rest of his life. He decided he was going to, even though it's going to be challenging, do what he could to help the world. And I tell you right now, if he'd just gone away and thought, I don't need to do this, so many people would miss out on his gifts and what he's offered. So I just have to keep reminding myself that if I can actually keep getting out my own way, it's possible to really help impact on people, raise consciousness of the planet. A client last week traveled from Madrid to come and see me, her and her son. She stayed in an Airbnb with her family. 3 years ago, I met her in a swimming pool in a hotel. And I said, whatever you did worked. I need to come and see you. And for me, that is a testament in itself for the changes that happen. And sometimes they are very physically led, like her son was pulling his hair out from anxiety. And she said after the session, he just stopped.
Yeah, it doesn't serve the world to keep in hiding mode and to fall for the illusions of anxiety and fear. We're meant to go over that, to go beyond that, and to let our life finally be free.
And so, like this young boy, when he just had his session last week, I took him into his future, and I tell you, he was a coder. He's really interested in technology and coding, and he was 18. He's 10 years old right now, and it was just absolutely amazing, him envisioning his future, doing what he loves.
One question that I'm interested in, how do you get over yourself over and over again?
I don't always. Sometimes I wallow in my victim state, my self-pity, and then I judge myself. And it's interesting because I grew up believing that being vulnerable was weak.
Sorry, say that again?
Being vulnerable is something weak. So I'm still learning to be open and full. And do I get past myself? Support system, being accountable myself, self-care, and actually go deeper than self-care now, the journey of love. I'm still in discovery of it. Also, understanding I am human, because I used to feel this imposter syndrome that I help others when my life's a mess or I'm through these deep challenges. And actually, this year has been one of the biggest challenging years I've ever experienced in my life, and it started with my mother passing away. And I'd say that I've learned so much about myself, and I've had to practice what I preach, and I've had to use the tools that for me, and I've had to seek support, and I've had people. And being in this duality is quite interesting, because I used to always think if it felt bad, if something bad had happened and I felt bad, that was. But I'm learning that in hindsight, it may make sense. I know now why something has happened. But in hindsight, it will make sense. Because at the time when I had the breakdown, it did not feel good. It was not good. And so having that, it helps me strong. But when you say how, I'm still on path. I'm still work in progress. And master at the same time. I'm on my own journey, and I believe that our evolution, I've committed to this evolution. It's a consciousness evolution, and it's becoming conscious as much as possible, but it takes a lot of effort, and it's not easy. at all. And it's really confronting our biggest fears.
Mm.
And I can't say I'm great at it. I'm still learning.
Yes, it's an ongoing journey of evolution and expanding who we are and who we come here to be. Your life purpose journey is very personal and unique. What messages or wisdom would you like to impart to those who are searching for their own purpose and maybe inspired by your story?
So I actually have a quote, if I can share,
Please.
by Talia Hunter. She's really good at poetry. When you plant a seed in the ground, you trust that it will grow. You do not go digging it up over and over again or spend your days watching it constantly and obsessively, wondering whether or not it will eventually sprout. Instead, you take care of it, but give it space to blossom in its own time and at its own pace. In the same way, trust that when you're on the path of being committed to healing and self-growth, you too will fully blossom when the time is right, through giving yourself enough space, love, and patience to grow into your full potential. By Talia Hunter.
Oh, wow. That just touched something really in my heart. I feel that.
Do you feel that? I mean, it takes so much bravery, so much courage to do this work, to go down this path.
Yes, it does, because it's like, how to say this? You're constantly pushing is the only word that comes through right now. You're constantly pushing yourself beyond what is familiar, beyond what is comfortable. And it's like every single day, it's about getting over yourself once again. But that is also the beauty.
Yeah. And it's also connecting to the beauty of right now, the present moment.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up in the past and even one in the future, like we miss on the present moment. And actually connecting to the now is so beautiful. But it takes actually, we need to start building it as to create a habit of it. We're not used to doing that.
Right. Creating a habit of presence, of being in your own presence, of being anchored in your body. This message is so important. I share that all the time myself. This needs to hear. It's about mastering your presence. It's about being here in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, because that's where the key to your power is. That's where the key to your infinite potential is. And that's where all the answers are accessible to you. It's when you're free of the fear of the future and the regret of the past.
Yeah.
You choose being present. This is your powerhouse.
And growing down. So this person called Richard Raw calls it growing down, which is growing into becoming more fully human, embodied, connected to others, and with a heart broken open enough to become a wounded healer with hard-earned wisdom to help others. When we grow down, we automatically grow up. And it's a beautiful alchemy of paradox, living in contradiction, yin and yang. So it's wholeness. In contrast, unilaterally growing up does not ensure growing down. In fact, it buries and neglects our brilliance trapped beneath our unreckoned trauma. So by going down, we encounter our love wounds, work through them. It's an initiation to clear and integrate our childhood pain so we are actually able to become emotionally intelligent, mature adults. Growing down confronts us with the shadow. It gives us the greatest opportunity for genuine hands-on transformation so we become people of integrity. It creates a foundation of deep light for the privilege to affect the world as adults. We don't grow down, we remain childish. Our wounds and traumas remain fester and govern our lives unconsciously. We don't actually grow up, except most notably in the perverse capitalistic way of leaving home and making our own financial way in the world, which has its own merit. But it's certainly not the grand sum of maturity, wisdom, and caring for the greater good. When we don't grow down to grow up, we end up with a childish culture, a tsunami of shadow trying to grab what it can from others to fill the void of what we have left untended. Human consciousness does not emerge at any depth except through struggling with our shadow. It is in facing our conflicts, criticisms, and contradictions we grow. It is in the struggle with our shadow self, with failure, with wounding, that we break into higher levels of consciousness. So everything I do is to help raise the consciousness of the planet. It starts with me.
Right.
Every person I work with, there is a ripple effect, and we're clearing generations of trauma. And I often say to my clients, if no one else changes, you change, and that changes everything. And the biggest word that comes through for me is responsibility. If each and every person could take responsibility for themselves, they don't need to know what their life purpose is. Just take responsibility. That is the start. And life purpose can be so rewarding and expanding and changing, and it's not just one thing. So one thing that I've experienced, it's changing, it's expanding, it's moving, and I'm multi-passionate, so I don't want to be pinned down to, like, when you describe me, that I'm just one thing. And it doesn't mean I'm a jack of all trades. It's like there is a weave, a thread that connects everything I do. And the main thing is to help raise consciousness. There's a scale of consciousness, and it's being able to move up that scale, each and every one of us. And it's by taking responsibility. And consciousness needs to be raised to save our planet right now. And the more people that can do it for themselves, the more people that come up forward to help others, brilliant.
Yeah. What impact do you hope or envision? Let's call it envision. What impact do you envision to have on individuals, communities, and the world at large as you continue to live and serve your purpose, Beejal?
The impact I want, it's like a ripple effect. It's like when people, it's like the word responsibility. The impact I want is really for people to wake up, to awaken to themselves, to connect themselves to themselves and something beyond. It's not something religious or something that someone has to believe in as such. And also it's opening up to believing before you see something. It's different to hope. And it's the intention, planting seed, the intention, and us being deserving of like, to have one foot in gratitude and have one foot in desire. Like, it's okay to desire, but also be grateful for everything. And that is so important. So the impact I want to have is, I want to get QLT out in the world. I want people to experience it. I want to train people. I did a training a few years ago. People came from all around the world to training, and I want to relaunch the training, and I want to get out of my own way to share something beautiful that has come through me. And I want to keep on helping people heal, transform, evolve, grow, align to their infinite potentials. And I want to continue living the life on my terms, in balance, and feeding, nourishing my soul, creating more and more art, swimming in the sea all year round, becoming fluent in Spanish, appreciating the beauty of nature, and helping people. And it's a balance of both.
That's beautiful.
And you know, I work one-to-one, working in groups, working workshops, retreats. One of my dreams is, you know, to bring people to Mallorca, also in the UK and around the world. I want to create a experience for people collaboratively. I want to work with people like my, to offer people unique experiences to really uncover who they are and to commit to that journey, not just, okay, I've done my transformation, that's it for now. We continue to evolve and we invest in ourselves to evolve, and we're worth it.
My last question for today is, what are your aspirations and your goals for the next 10 years of your life? Anything in specific that you would like to share with us?
Well, I think I just shared a lot of it. So I just want to continue to deepen my connection with myself, with my higher self, with the divine, and to help others. And I want people to activate their gifts, their life purpose. And intuition is key. And the way to uncover the intuition is to help, commit to clearing the wounds of the past and not to be defined by the past, and to really get excited about life. So I want peace. I want peace for everybody. I want peace, joy, love, happiness. But I also want to be able to hold space for the other emotions, feelings, and the polarize. It's kind of a duality and the polarizing effect. I want to be able to get out of my own way more faster. I want to be able to hold space for myself or find that support when I need it. And I want people to be able to do that too. And there, if we all, there is something with consciousness and coherence, and the power is multifold. When people meditate together, they research and found that crime rate in cities decreases. We are magical beings.
Yeah.
And we can all, I'm not really that different or special to anyone else. So everyone has these innate gifts within them waiting to be uncovered.
Exactly. It is when we move past the working through the traumas and the pain bodies that all those gifts and the treasures are revealing themselves that we have.
And my hope is that people don't wait for a crisis. And that also children if children go through healing, transformation, the world is going to change for the better. But it also starts with us. So a lot of people will come and say, help my child. It's like, they've got to live with you. I can help your child, but what about you? We've all got to go down that path if we want to have a better life for ourselves and the world, and change the consciousness, because everything is being reflected back to us. So it's not outer world creates inner world, it's inner world is creating the outer world. And if we don't always like what we see in the outer world, we need to keep going within.
Yeah. Are there any last words of wisdom you would like to impart?
I think beingness is really important. I found there's having, there's doing, there's being. And we can just open up to beingness. That in itself is going to lead us on that path to the next level of ourselves, to becoming the best version of ourselves. Being.
Remembering what it means to just be.
I love actually the words just above your head. For we walk by faith, not by sight. I love that. Just let me just noticed.
Something that I choose to walk by every day, for sure. Beejal, anything else you would like to share? Otherwise,
Oh, yes, I do online vision boarding workshops, and if anyone's interested, it's on the details can be found on my website and on my social media. There's also a free audio called Love, Peace and Light, and it was an amazing collaboration with a sound frequency specialist. And it's less than 8 minutes. So if you've never meditated before, this is a great way to start. And if you have meditated, it's something different. I'd love your feedback. And it's a meditation mantra called Love, Peace and Light. And I'd love for people to join me. I have regular workshops for vision boarding. If anyone wants to find out anything else, if they want to have a discovery with me, also they can go on my website and book in with me.
we're gonna share your details once the interview releases, so people will definitely find you and check out your offering.
And my books are available on Amazon as well.
Yes.
So if you go under my name, Beejal, Coulson, you find the books that I've been part of.
I want to thank you so much, Beejal, for today's interview and for giving us more insight and more wisdom on your journey to your purpose and your transformation. It was a blessing to have you on, and I wish you all the best, and may all your aspirations align with the greater and higher good of all. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for I thank the universe for the synchronicity for our paths.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, so do I.
Passion for life purpose is amazing and complete alignment with mine.